What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. For most things I come on here with, I prescribe keeping tabs. You cannot manage what you do not measure. What you measure automatically starts to head in the right direction. And I have a lot of stories for how this has played out for me, from my own life to managing people. Usually without metrics, most things fly in the wind. I will tell you something that, though, if you bring this measurement and metrics to, is a surefire way to destroy. And that is relationships. No one, and I mean no one, whether they tell you or not, no one likes someone who keeps tabs. Try it and see how it works out for you. This goes for friendships to romantic relationships. Actually, one of the warning signs your romantic relationship is falling apart is when a person feels so unseen that they have to point out the things that they are doing for you in a way to maybe earn acknowledgement and credit for their effort, which also points out to you at your own failing for providing them that in some ways. It takes two to tango, right? But in friendships, this is no different. In all types of relationships, this is no different. Maybe it started in your household as a child, and what was in the fridge was designated for the person who got it or who claimed it, almost like it had their name on it. Maybe the entire concept of sharing never appealed to you because you never felt anything was yours in the first place. Maybe you built this tendency in your later years, in school or in college with friends who you encountered that would easily take advantage of you if you let them. And so you remembered to take back that $5 they owed you and remind them to pay you when you paid for their lunch, and have a habit maybe of splitting checks because of large groups that you hang out in, and they're all loose-knit friends that you keep. I am by no means saying that in certain scenarios, it does not make sense to keep tabs of who contributed what. And sometimes in team cohesion, it really is about getting clear on what each person is going to contribute, bring to the table, so that the others can focus on something else. That's not exactly what I'm talking about here. What I will tell you is that if you live with this tendency to account for every dollar that you have spent on someone, and maybe you have a net 30 policy that you are sure to collect those receivables that people owe you within the month that you expended it, then just understand that your life, the depth of your relationships, will only go as deep and as long as you foresee by offloading that exchange. Meaning, if your idea of reciprocity expires in 30 days, and you see and try to measure what you got for what you gave, then you will only build things that can be built in 30 days or less. But if you take a longer term view towards relationships, if you consider them lifetime, then not only does it become really impossible to keep accounting, but it also makes that you enrich your life by constantly giving and trusting that in the lifetime, just given the nature of the universe and how it maintains balance, even if you don't do this or keep this selfish idea of reciprocity in mind, but just trusting that in the lifetime of you giving, the universe will provide for you just as much, if not more. Then you look at your giving as seeds to be planted that might or might not bear fruit, but will be in so much abundance that you cannot reasonably keep count. At least your seeds will be. Enough so that what you receive back does not only feed you, but enough to feed your community. And so your giving continues tirelessly because of it. And naturally, because you cannot keep track of who gave you what back for what you gave them, you give freely without any tethers of expectation. And so you expand the horizons of possibility also for those who are still stuck in accounting, as they get to experience the benefits through you. And then you also begin then this ripple effect through them, through you, that starts to bend the world towards grace and generosity for no apparent personal gain. See, I almost feel uncomfortable around people who keep tabs of who paid for what, or who did what, or who's in charge of doing it next. I already know I'm in the company of short-term thinkers when this happens. And I don't automatically consider it a character flaw. I usually find it sad more than anything because chances are, more often than not, they have not been exposed to any other way of being. They have never been around someone who thinks longer term, considers them a part of their life forever, at the same time gives of himself like there is no tomorrow, not even concerned with the lifetime ahead. And so I am saddened when I know I meet people here because I know we cannot go deeper until this one aspect of them flips, because it is related to so many other things about how they view the world and relationships. Your short-term thinking infects every other part of your being. And unfortunately, if you don't bend in this way and start to flip this idea, the person who comes to you who is naturally giving, even them at a certain point, will also be turned off by your short-term thinking as they feel that you value something else over the relationship, whatever that is. And not even because they want something back from you directly, but because they feel the energy from you that is of a lack, that you are always trying to make sure that you get back what you want. And that energy is off-putting. I have family members who are on the both sides of this camp. Those that account for every penny they spend, and those that don't think twice about what is expenditure in their ongoing relationship with you. Which ones do you think are easier to keep a relationship with? Which one do you think is attracting riches and abundance back to them? Which one do you think attracts grace in your silent moments thinking about them? I have said this before. The things that make the most difference in life are the things you cannot possibly account for. That which is bought or sold is only worth something when it contains something within it that cannot be bought or sold. The priceless ingredient. There is not a metric or measurement that can chart out, map, or account for a priceless ingredient. It is by its very nature unaccountable. But here's the thing. It's earned. So you are accountable to reach what is unaccountable and cannot be counted. You are accountable for not accounting. Sounds strange, I know. But try it any other way, and I guarantee you will not reach the depth in relationships that you would like. Something about you will retain distance, and you will not recognize this as the main factor. Here's what I want to remind you of. All your love, your wealth, your attention and care, you get to keep none of it. Although it is a scarce resource to you and valuable, the only thing that gives it value is when you give it indiscriminately. Because it all goes with you and ends with you. What are you saving it for exactly? The goal should be to leave a bit of yourself, a bit of your heart with everyone you encounter or everyone that encounters you. So much so that everyone feels indebted to you and you have zero desire or need to collect. They will naturally pass on your abundance forward. There is no legacy, no memorial worth living for. It's all about how many lives you can enrich while you are still on this planet. The rest, like you, will be history and forgotten. Only the love that you left behind, all of you that you left behind, will live on. And through you, to others. So take all measures to give of you, and take no measurements of it at all. I've had this thing hanging in my room for years that says, when I stand in front of God at the end of my life, I want to say, I used everything you gave me, God. I would like to be wrung out like a mop, with not a drop left in me. And yes, you will encounter people who use you and take advantage of you when you are like this. And that's their problem with their God. Because for me, any drop left will be wasted and burnt into ashes with me. And I want to leave it all here. I refuse to piecemeal myself out selectively. For all the drops that I have left in me will be distributed, doled out, following one principle only. No accounting. None at all. I love you, family. Stay true. See you on the next show.